2021, throwaway plastic like this has been banned in the EU.
In Germany, the ban has a very German name. Einweg-Kunststoffverbotsverordnung.
But I still feel like I see it everywhere here in Berlin.
Let's set the timer to 1 hour and collect as many single-use items as I can.
Clock's ticking, let's go. Plastic straw for my mango fruit drink. Plastic cups for your various beverages. I've never been so excited about a plastic cup in my life. Oh, that's 1 hour.
It's safe to say that I was pretty successful.
So I just counted a little more than 20 items that I collected in 1 hour. So I found one plastic item every 3 minutes. That's insane.
To me, this all looks like it would have been banned a while ago. So that would mean the ban isn't working. Am I right? To find out, I carried my plastic haul across Berlin to meet up with someone who knows the rules inside out.
Okay, you ready?
Ready?
Your first reaction to all this plastic.
Okay, die erste Reaktion, das ist echt viel Plastik und für mich sieht es auf den ersten Blick so aus, als wäre davon ganz viel nicht mehr erlaubt.
Britta Schantz has spent a decade helping consumers eat sustainably and cut down on plastic. To find out the extent of the problem, we sorted everything into 3 piles. This is banned, that's unclear, and that's still allowed. I'm smiling here, but I didn't get it. It's all single-use plastic, no? We sat down so that Britta could explain it to me.
Diese Styroporboxen oder auch Styroporbecher, die dürfen nicht mehr ausgegeben werden. Einweg-Rührstäbchen oder auch Plastikstrohhalme, auch die sind nicht mehr in Ordnung.
The EU has prohibited all of this stuff. Cutlery, plates, stirrers, straws. The law explicitly mentions cotton buds and balloon sticks. Why is it all so specific?
Ich glaube, sie haben angefangen mit Worst First. Was können wir als erstes irgendwie mal wegkriegen, was wirklich völlig überflüssig ist?
The EU investigated what kind of trash is out there and found that roughly 40% of litter is single-use plastic. So they figured banning that would fix most of the problem. But clearly it hasn't worked so well.
Ich finde es ja fast ein bisschen naiv von der EU zu sagen, naja, wieso, das darf ja jetzt nicht mehr rein und dann kommt es auch nicht. Ja. Man denkt sich, ja, dann guck doch mal hin, das machen alle.
Ja.
She says sellers illegally import these items from outside the EU. So I checked. Can I simply order the stuff online?
Yep, this website ships to Germany and I can theoretically have my plastic items here by tomorrow.
So why is it still so easy to buy if it's illegal? Would I even get in trouble for this?
Wenn es ein Gesetz gibt, dann muss es auch kontrolliert werden. Ansonsten hält sich ja niemand dran.
In theory, the law is enforced through fines. The local kebab shop could be fined up to 100,000 euros for giving you a plastic fork. Sounds steep, but it's like speeding. If no one fined you for breaking the speed limit, no one would stick to it. So, are these fines ever actually enforced? I contacted the 5 biggest German cities to ask if they had fined anyone. Most said they only get active if they hear of any violations, or they carry out random checks, if at all. But not a single one could point to any example of fines. So, what about the unclear stuff in this other pile? Didn't the EU ban plastic cutlery?
Diese Gabeln sehen ja erstmal gleich aus. Sie sind beide aus Plastik. Hier sieht man aber einen Trick der Hersteller. Hier steht reusable drauf.
Well, technically, you can hardly see it. But this tiny word and the fact that the fork is a little thicker means it can stay in circulation. In other words, a loophole. Or a deliberate circumvention of the law, Britta said. Because there's another problem.
Reusable does not mean reused.
Natalie Gontard is a leading researcher on plastic pollution and has won several awards for her work. She says these reusable items can even do more harm than good since the way we use them hasn't changed at all. I mean, if you got this fork at your local kebab shop, would you use it more than once?
In some area, we have been able to increase the consumption of plastic by banning single-use plastic, because the law can be easily circumvented by just increasing the thickness.
And she has proof that a lot of companies are doing just that.
Many companies have contacted me when these bans were in preparation. They were a little bit panicked and at the end they come back to me very sorry, really. we don't need your help anymore because it's very simple. We will just increase the sickness. And at the end, they are working as usual. Where is the progress here? Where is the interest? Where is the benefit?
And there is another hiccup. Unlike glass or metal, plastic isn't really made to be reused. The more we use and wash it, the more it absorbs aroma, colorants, and microbes. So even if a fork is labeled reusable, it's mostly not reused and shouldn't be. But that doesn't mean that things haven't changed at all. You've probably seen a lot of the new alternatives out there. Cotton tote bags, wooden cutlery, or paper cups. They look eco-friendly, but are they really? To find out, scientists in Denmark looked at the environmental impacts a carrier bag creates, like carbon footprint, toxicity, and resource use. A paper bag would need to be reused 43 times to be as good as a plastic one. And cotton 7,100 times. So is plastic the right way to go after all?
The main danger of plastic is not taken into account in the assessment. Because the key danger of plastic, this is not about carbon emission, carbon footprint. This is about the emission of micro and nanoplastics that we can find then in our lung, in our brain, in our blood.
So while paper and cotton have their own cost, plastic has a hidden one. It sticks around for several hundreds of years. So a container is banned, a fork is okay, but wouldn't be if it was thinner? Who actually understands these rules? To find out, I made a little quiz.
Obwohl, nee.
I asked people which of these items are banned. Well, one thing everyone was clear about.
Der Strohhalm, oder? Ich bin sicher, dass Strohhalme verboten sind.
Ich würde auch der Strohhalm so sagen.
So what's the final count? What's banned, what's okay?
I guess plastic straw, I still see it. And I still see styrofoam. I guess it's this one. I'm not sure.
I think maybe this one.
Die zwei?
Nein, ja.
Okay. Also ich glaube, sonst ist alles erlaubt. Was verboten, nicht verboten, verboten, nicht verboten.
Ich sag nur Strohhalm.
Nur der Strohhalm.
Ansonsten kriegt man eigentlich alles so.
Actually, everything of this is banned except the fork.
But I feel like I see everything.
Yeah, pretty much everyone I spoke to was confused. And I can't blame them.
Das ergibt keinen Sinn.
And it's not just consumers. Shop owners are struggling to understand too, even though they could be fined 100,000 euros.
Ich glaube, die meisten Hersteller oder Händler wissen gar nicht, was in Ordnung ist und was nicht in Ordnung ist. Zugegebenermaßen ist das Gesetz natürlich auch ein bisschen kompliziert. Ich muss mich da erst reinlesen.
So unless they're sure, many are hesitant to comply with the ban, as it's messing with their business.
Katastrophe. Wie soll es sein? Ja, aber die richtige Pappteller kriegen wir nicht. Wurde noch nicht so richtig eingeführt und ist teuer.
Also ist teurer geworden, auf jeden Fall. Und also es war schöner mit Plastik. Die hatten wir auch früher als Plastik. Und jetzt müssen wir die umstellen als Holz. Das gefällt mir ganz ehrlich auch nicht.
Persönlich hat sich nicht viel geändert. Es ist besser für die Umwelt.
But public awareness is essential for legislation to work. So is there a smarter way of going about this? I researched how other countries do it.
In Kenya, it has been illegal to use, manufacture or import plastic bags since 2017.
Has that been effective? I asked an expert.
Initially, plastics were all over, not only in the dump sites, along the roads, some blown by wind on trees, everywhere.
Evans Nangulu manages his own company helping businesses and community groups tackle environmental challenges.
But with the ban, the streets are clean, the roads are clean, the cities are clean.
Evans says at the beginning, the ban completely stopped plastic production and massively reduced the amount of plastic in circulation. Those caught manufacturing or using plastic bags face up to 4 years in jail or risk a fine of up to $31,000. And unlike Germany, it's not just an empty threat. But now there's a different problem.
Cross-border movement of plastic bags, the prohibited one, they're still finding their ways to Kenya. In Uganda, industries are still allowed to produce single-use packaging products. They're still finding its way to Rwanda and to Kenya. So these governments need to come together.
I found a map here that shows which countries have plastic bans in place.
The lighter green countries have fewer bans. The darker ones have more. Looks pretty patchy to me. And that's exactly the problem, as another expert told me.
The idea that country per country we will be able to solve the issue is just not the solution anymore.
Jimena Banegas looks at international environmental law.
We currently have 120 countries that have different forms of plastic bans, and we're all kind of playing whack-a-mole, right? Like banning this product here, but not banning it there, leaving it optional for certain countries to ban, while you still have that product being produced somewhere else.
In August 2025, the UN tried to fix this. Delegates from around the world met in their 5th session to discuss standardizing the rules for everyone. Spoiler alert, they couldn't do it.
Well, the main conflict is that some countries just want to tackle the waste issue and want a treaty that only looks at waste and remain at the national level. And some countries want to be more ambitious and they want to go for binding global bans, restrictions on harmful products, restrictions on certain chemicals that are in plastics, and also have a production cap.
That last one, capping global production, was the biggest sticking point for many countries. Still, it's not unthinkable. In 1987, the world agreed to stop using certain chemicals that were harming the ozone layer. They used to be everywhere, in fire extinguishers, fridges, air conditioners, and hairspray. But countries set binding limits on their production and trade, and to date have managed to phase out 98% of them. Without a cap like that, the plastic industry might find new loopholes and bans.
Bans are essential, but we just can't pretend that bans are the solution. It's not tackling the more than 400 million tons of plastics that are being put into the market.
With a cap, perhaps we wouldn't be replacing thinner forks with thicker ones and calling it a day. But evidently, plastic is still very much in demand, so it's a catch-22 kind of situation. Bans can work if they're enforced, clearly communicated, internationally synced, and designed to avoid loopholes. And if they're backed by long-term political will. They're not the magic fix, but they're a piece of the puzzle.
Do you believe a plastic-free future is realistic or just wishful thinking? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out dw.com for more stories.